Here we go. First, thanks everyone for joining. And I'm really very excited for this event, especially because of not just the topic, but because of that we have with us. I'm really excited to hear from them. So let me first go to sharing the slides. And please let me know if you guys can see my screen. And it must be the wrong one. Is it, or is it the right one?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks everyone for joining us in celebrating the International Women's Day 2023. We generally celebrate on 8th of March, but to celebrate good things, we don't need date. But the good part is we are still in the same month. So, yay, we made it. Um, if you all can start by introducing yourself from in the chat box and from where you are from, what's the weather look there, and what is the famous food. It would be so good to know. um, Hi Haley. We have Mani Krishna as well from India, so you can tell us how's the weather over there and famous food. All right, so let's start. um, I'll probably have another exciting news. We'll go through the agenda as well. And first, we'll go through the agenda. We have a new member joining us in the Women Who Mule APAC region, which is very exciting for us. We have then panel discussion where we have three amazing speakers. And then we have Nikita. She will be joining and she will be sharing her personal experience with us. So there is a lot of learning I can see today. And then we'll have some key takeaways and we'll do the wrap up of the event. So before that, I'll just probably quickly summarize in few seconds what this Women Who Mule APAC is. And most of the people who join us, they probably know or they're probably new to it. So it's a MuleSoft global community group. We have a lot of groups like the meetups, mentors, ambassadors group, and this is part of our meetup group. As you also know, MuleSoft have various technical group, but in this group we try to stick to diversity and inclusion mainly. You can see there are a lot of communities around the world, and but for Women Who Mule, there are three only. Um, as you can see, EMA, and APAC region. And we already have four awesome meetup leaders, not for three, and one you have to just bear with me. But very excitingly, we have a new meetup leader, Rajeshwari Sundaram. Raji. Um, so, Raji, I won't share any spoilers with anyone, and I want you to introduce yourself and tell me what's wrong in that slide up with your signature. Let's
No,
start
there is
with that.
nothing wrong with the slide at all. It's perfectly fine. Thank you so much, Sonal, and everyone for the warm welcome here. So let me quickly introduce myself. So my name is Raji. I think that's how people address me. I don't think anyone call me Rajeshwari anymore. So I'm part of Accenture. I lead the India MuleSoft capability and practice within the Salesforce business group of Accenture. And so I have been with the IT industry for over 20 plus years now. And I started my career as software engineer working in both Java, J2E, and .NET technologies. Uh, been mostly into the CRM side of things, both on CRM product development, including products like Oracle CRM, Siebel CRMs. I've been part of the application development teams of the core product. And then post that, I moved into Salesforce.com implementations, I think sometime around 2009, 2010. and I've also worked on other integration technologies. And I think MuleSoft, I started only with Accenture when I joined Accenture here 1.5 years back, when I took over the role within the Salesforce Business Group as the MuleSoft capability lead here. Very excited. Um, it's been a very interesting journey where I've got to interact with multiple platforms over through MuleSoft, right? Whether it is Salesforce, whether it is SAP, Workday, and I think it's given out that um, kind of exploring the overall client enterprise in terms of the integration architecture itself, and providing that client value that MuleSoft can offer as an integration platform. So quite excited, and I think it's my first meeting into the meetup group. So looking forward to the panel discussion. I think it's a very exciting topic, and I should say that a few years back I had actually taken a break almost 1.5 years, and for my maternity leave, and then I had to take care of my second daughter, and then I returned back to work. So I think a very very interesting topic today for all women. I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. And on my personal front, I'm married. I have two kids. Elder one is a son, and younger one is 6 years old, daughter. So they keep me busy while away from work. So I think they are a handful. So it takes all of my time, and yeah, so that's what. And I'm based out of Bangalore. So anything, I'm looking forward to do some in-person meetup also very soon, probably. So looking forward to meet all of you in person, and hopefully we'll keep the spirit going.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Raji.
Sonal. Yeah,
Thanks, Raji. And again, very warm welcome to the group. We are very excited to have you on board.
thank you.
And now, the very interesting part for which we all are waiting for, our panel discussion. And in panel discussion, we have three speakers. Before I introduce passionate speaker, uh, I want to introduce the topic as well. We have the Embrace Equity, which is the topic for this year as well from International Women Day. And when we say embrace equity is a topic, I think so we need to live and breathe that as well. And for me, embracing the equity means so much. And that's the reason I'm very excited to introduce our very own first speaker, um, Vanita. She's in the call, and Vanita is a senior director in Capgemini in Salesforce and digital customer experience practice. Along her digital senior director role, Vanita leads Capgemini relaunch program for digital business. Relaunch program is a pathway for the women to return to workforce. Along that, she also encouraged women to pivot into STEM. Diversity and inclusion is a shared value for both uh, Vanita and Capgemini. So, and on a personal front, she is a mother, she's an active ally. Vanita is proud to be able to use her business leadership role as a vehicle for change. She liked to foster a women network among women to support their confidence, which is the key for each member. And I can't be agree with that. And you guys can probably support that as well. To support each other is such a big thing in our community. With that, Vanita, very warm welcome, and we are very excited to have you on board for this panel discussion. And thanks for taking the time out and for your commitment for today.
Thank you. Thanks, Anu.
And then I have shared stage with her. I have got a privilege to share stage with her with our second speaker. She's very passionate about diversity and inclusion, and her name is Michelle Dawson. She's from MuleSoft ecosystem. She's GM for Australia and New Zealand. She's been in IT industry for 12 years and with Salesforce, I guess, 5 years. And Michelle is also a young mother of two children. more about it today. TED 6 and dot 4. She's a fierce advocate for women and parents in technology and committee member of Salesforce Women Network. And I've seen her work in Salesforce, and I'm very much inspired by her work, I must say. Very warm welcome, Michelle, and very excited to have you on board.
Thanks, Anal.
And last but not least, we have Juliana. She's from Capgemini, and I got again privileged to work with her for so many years. We were in sharing the same company, and I think so. We were among a couple of women over there in most of the networks. So I won't spoil all that, which is gone is history, right, Juliana? She is very passionate for the women in IT professional. She herself is a seasoned IT professional with global software and professional service experience spanning Australia and the United States. In her current role, she head up GTM function in KPMG, Enterprise Advisory Tech Integration Team focused. So, very warm welcome, Juliana. I am very excited to have you in the panel discussion. And I think so. We are having a little bit issue with Juliana's mic and virtual session today, but we'll see if she can join us. Then that would be great. Coming to, I'll try. I'll hand over. I don't spoil it. Okay, I'll hand over to Michelle and invite her to speak or tell us or educate us about the equity. We all know embracing equity is something which is not embracing equality. And that's where my knowledge goes so far, Michelle. So I know equity could be very broad topic. And today probably I would like to understand a bit more about embracing the equity for the women in technology. Um, Personally,
Absolutely.
yeah, personally equity is just for me the my small awareness says it's just the steps that we can make, and everyone can have their individual or separate preference needs to reach to a particular goal, and how we can embrace that. That is such a small awareness piece that I have, but I really would like you to take us to deep dive to understand what is embracing the equity is.
Absolutely. Can do. Thanks, Anal. So if we move to the next slide, I thought we'd start today's panel with a visual because I think visually understanding the difference between equity and equality is fundamental to achieving it. And if we don't quite understand the difference between the two, then we're ourselves a disservice in actually achieving it. So on the left, we look at equality, and equality is giving the same opportunity to every individual, regardless of sexuality, gender, race, sexual orientation, etc. So that is just level setting. But the thing with equality is it doesn't take into account the personal circumstances and hurdles that that person has to overcome. So equity is closing that gap. So it's giving a level playing field for all players and meeting the needs of that individual person and the obstacles they've had to overcome to get there. So I liken it to a relay race as well. It's another visual I've seen and a good way to understand why equity is important. If you look at a cis white male, for example, everyone's standing at the running line, the start line of a running race, and he's got a free rein to hit the finish line. But say a cis white female might have one hurdle. And then you look at other minorities, depending on wealth, mental health, sexual orientation, etc., all those determining factors, they create more hurdles. So whilst everyone might start at the same starting line and have the same length of race to get to the same finishing line, there's more hurdles that need to be overcome for other minorities. And so that's what equity focuses on. So if we flick to the next slide, I've got a really great visual that will help you understand where maybe you sit or the people around you sit in terms of power and privilege. And for myself, I'm very privileged. I'm a cis white female. When I look at the determining factors on the wheel of power and privilege, I'm very central and I'm incredibly blessed. But I think as a part of my responsibility is to help those that are potentially marginalised. And the way that we can better serve our customers, better serve our society is by lifting up the equity for those who are marginalised so they have the same opportunities as us who are privileged. So if we're looking at women, and obviously that's what the International Women's Day talks were all about and the reason we have the day, for me, International Women's Day I'm going to be a bit bold here, can sometimes become a cupcake fest. And a lot of it can end up celebrating women in the workforce, which really does us a disservice and it doesn't actually achieve anything. And the reason that that International Women's Day and the UN have really focused on equity is because that's the action that needs to be taken to create a level playing field for women and for men. And actually, if you look at equity is not just in the workforce, it's in the home. And so we also need to focus on equity for men in the home to enable equity for women in the workforce. So that both of those are kind of interlocked. And I like to look at it from both lenses because they influence one another. So what I would ask you to do today when you're thinking about this panel is look at yourself here, look at the people that you work with, and look at the ecosystem and look at what we can do to start including the entire wheel in what our ecosystem as a MuleSoft community looks like. Because at the end of the day, we are servicing customers who come from all different backgrounds and we need to speak the same language as them. And in order to achieve diversity of thought, we need to have representation across the board. But that equity we need to keep in mind because we need to give greater access to those opportunities to people who may not have, a direct line of sight there. And so today I'm really excited to hear from the other panelists about what them and their organisations are doing in regards to equity to make it more accessible for people who may or may not have had that opportunity, with equality being the focus. Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. That's very good to know, And as you said, creating the opportunity for the people as per their needs. People come from different background, people have different needs, people driving force is very different. So I can't be agree more. And I think so. I would probably say I understand now a bit more about the equity. Thanks for sharing with us. Before I jump to Vanita, I also want to know, like, how you, being mother, two kids, how you manage your day or how you see equity related to you.
Sure. So I think I'll answer the equity part first and then I'll move into my personal circumstances and the juggle. But in terms of equity, I think the industry is acknowledging that they need to make more of an effort in terms of hiring a gender diverse workforce. And that isn't just female or male, that also includes non-binary and the trans community. And so I think by that being top of mind, I've been able to get connected to people who have me. I've had a male mentor who's really in terms of my career development over the last couple of years, and has been quite, mindful about lifting up junior women within the organisation and seeing it through that childbearing years, because often we see that's where women fall off out of the workforce. So I think I've been given opportunity in terms of equity, but I'm going to highlight it. I'm pretty privileged. Like I haven't had as many hurdles, and something I'm really conscious of and something I wasn't really aware of before is a lot of the women movement, and I'm aligning to a lot of women of colour and of different backgrounds of myself now through LinkedIn and following their narrative and their experience to try and educate myself. But what I've noticed is a lot of the efforts that go into gender balance are too heavily weighted towards white women, and they're often the recipients of that equity. And so something I'm quite passionate about doing is broadening that and helping all women. So I think just paying it forward, surrounding myself around amazing women and learning, a big part of what's helped me in my career. In terms of juggling, I watched a speech from, and I can't remember her name, it's Shonda, but I can't remember her surname. I think it starts with R, but the owner of Shondaland, who is the director and film producer of Bridgerton, amongst other films. And she mentioned, it was like a university graduation speech, and it really resonated with me. She said, I have it all, but I'm never doing it all well, all at the same time. If I'm doing well at work, I'm missing bath time with my kids. If I'm homesick with my kids, I'm missing an important project at work. You're never doing everything well. And so I think what we need to do as women is give ourselves some slack and don't look at me and go, gosh, Michelle has it together. Like, ask my husband. I'm a hot mess half the time. And it's just about being real, being vulnerable, so that we're not setting these unrealistic expectations and personas in society. You know, if anyone wants to pick up the phone and talk to me, I'll tell you exactly where I struggle and what I do, because I'm human. I'm not a superwoman. But what I do is set realistic expectations on myself, and I ask for help. And if I'm not coping, I take a break. So, you know, we've got leave. If you need to take some time out, take the time out, fill your own cup. If on the weekend, book in time for yourself, even if it's just to go for a walk around the block on your own. But I completely believe in the oxygen mask theory. For me, dancing is my passion, so I make time to go to a dance class 2 times a week. I miss bedtime for it, so that's something that I sacrifice in order to do it, but I know it fills my own cup and makes me a better employee, a better mother, a better daughter, a better sister, and all those other titles and jobs and roles that we have. But yeah, that would be my main advice. Yeah, lower your expectations, fill your own cup, and prioritize your own well-being.
Yeah, that's very well said, and that's very well good learning as well, that see where your comfort zone lies, and then do it accordingly, and don't do everything all together, right? And this is very common in the women, where they always have imposter syndromes, where they say, oh, we can't do it good enough, we are not good enough, we are not good enough. With that, I'll probably invite Juliana to share her thoughts and to share how women in the KPMG, she's from KPMG, they are making a difference, or how women are making difference in her organization.
Wonderful. Can you hear me, Sonal?
Yes.
It's a little bit ironic that we're here talking about women in tech, and I was struggling with the tech. Anyway, I thought I would come into the office because it would be better and easier to be on the network, but as it turns out, it wasn't. But yeah, thanks so much. So I didn't hear all of the early discussion, but yeah, was really excited in our prep call the other day, Michelle, to learn kind of a little bit more about equity versus equality. And I think that's really important to baseline everybody's understanding. I wanted to just start by sharing a little bit about my background. Just so you kind of understand why I'm passionate about this area. So I actually grew up in Australia in a little place called Whyalla, which some of you might have seen on the news lately about the hydrogen plant that's coming. we're looking to establish the biggest. So I grew up there, and then I was lucky enough, I went to university in Adelaide and was part of a brand new degree that was focused on creating graduates that were building the bridge between business and tech, which, as it turns out, is now what I've been doing for my whole life, through my career at Oracle and then Rubicon Red and now at KPMG. So during that time, I've had lots and lots of fabulous role models, particularly women, particularly in my time at Oracle overseas at headquarters. I was a product manager there for about 7 years, and amazing women in both marketing capacity, product management, and in engineering and sustained engineering roles. So that is really reflected. I guess I've reflected on that throughout my whole life. But if I was to kind of look at who was probably most impactful, it's probably my mum. She was university educated, probably at a time where not many women were university educated, and she was fiercely a strong advocate for educating women. And she was a teacher her whole life, and then focused on adult literacy and numeracy. She actually established the first regional centre in Whyalla for the University of South Australia, educating Indigenous people to be Aboriginal early childhood educators. So she was really focused on kind of diversity and tech before it was even a thing, which is pretty amazing to me. And I remember as a kid learning about coding sprites, sitting on our little personal computer, which was a Sega plugged into the TV. So that was kind of where I got my start. So I'm really passionate about inclusivity and collaborating and women in tech, and really just excited now to be at KPMG. You can go to the next slide, Sonal. And I guess if we kind of look at the market, can you see the slides? Oh, now I can't hear you. No.
Sonal, you're
No,
mute.
we can't see them.
Yeah, I have stopped it because I wanted to focus on what you are saying rather than looking at the slides,
Right.
Okay, so I'll share it again.
Brilliant. Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. Now just go to the next one, I think, Sonal. Thank you. So sorry, let's go back one more. There we go. That's the one. So yeah, really excited to be at KPMG. And I guess if we just stop and kind of look at the market, in Australia, I guess there's about 25% of the workforce that's in women in the technology workforce. If you look at that compared to kind of the whole market, there's about 47% of the women participating in the workforce. If we think about the growth rate, the demand for tech roles is actually growing pretty quickly, kind of 8% compared to the standard growth rate around 3.5%. And that, coupled with kind of the anticipated growth across the sector in coming years, despite the little lull that we've had in the beginning of this year, there's really a big demand for tech workers. So with that focus, there's obviously a lot of demand for talent, which is why it makes a lot of sense for organisations like for KPMG particularly to focus on getting more women into tech. But it's not really just about that war for talent. This research shows that from both an innovation and a profitability perspective, in terms of building trust with our clients and our staff and building happier and more productive teams, women have a really strong role to play in the workforce. And KPMG have been doing a very good job at that. If we look at the grad intake, there's about half of the grads that come in are females, and in tech roles particularly, there's about 35% of women that are in tech roles. As you go up the chain, though, that number actually drops. So I think that's quite telling in that that's where the focus is coming from. And so the Australia firm has really set a target to get 40% of women in partnership by 2025. So, and I think that's reflected both in Australia as well as in the US and in the UK, which is fabulous to see. And hence we're seeing a real focus around these programs, around diversity and inclusion. And I'm going to talk about one of those particularly today, which is IT's Her Future. But there's a whole bunch of other initiatives that are happening. Just go back for just 1 minute. So I was just going to talk a little bit about, there's a whole gamut of them. So there's Women in Cyber, the Asian Women's Forum, there's In Her Hands, which is a fabulous program, which is about getting women early in their career stage and promoting them. And it's really all about education, mentoring, and networking and collaborating. To Michelle's point, that is really the thing that can have the most impact in our day-to-day lives, is reaching out to like-minded people and lifting each other up, which is part of what this whole program, I guess, is all about. And next slide now, Sonal, we'll get into our groove. So the It's Her Future program is really about engaging, enabling and empowering women. And there's been a fairly big investment from KPMG in this area. We've got a fabulous female who's leading that for us, Liz Jessup, who some of you might have met at the International Women's Day events that she organised just last month for Women's Day. And the focus for that program is really around putting KPMG at the forefront of women in tech, not both for us internally, but for our clients and also for the broader sector. So I think that's really important because it's a whole focus across those three dimensions. And it's really about making it more accessible for women generally to get into tech. So building awareness and making that accessible across all domains for women, and then building a strong pipeline for that talent pool to be recruiting and engaging and enriching, so providing education forums, teaching people, setting things up so that people can collaborate, and then that all-important promotion path, so helping women get ready to be promoted and go into those leadership programs. It's really important to have that support across the board. And if you have a little look at the next slide, Sonal. That's it. So there's a lot of programs, and Liz is kind of spearheading these initiatives across KPMG, and programs that range from working through the universities, a really interesting program that's about building up young women, 14 and 15-year-olds, with some workshops there, and then more of the typical cross-industry networking, so things like the breakfasts and the International Women's Day event that I think, Michelle, you might have gone to that as well. From a recruitment perspective, really focused on driving that campus recruiting avenue, and I know in our practice, we particularly are very focused on hiring from a diversity perspective and the benefits that can bring. From an engagement and an enrichment perspective, there's numerous education opportunities. Something that was run really successfully in the UK that's coming here as well is kind of an entry-level Python class, which is focused on kind of giving people a little taste for what does tech kind of look like and taste like, and inspiring people to kind of get in and get their hands dirty, as well as more traditional public speaking things. And then KPMG actually has a gamut of learning opportunities, which just blows my mind, and very lucky to be here and be part of all of those things. And the networking things are, I think Liz is going to run a session here in Adelaide. So I think, Hayley, you're here in Adelaide. We might be able to team up and do some things locally in Adelaide. And on the promotion front, really the mentoring and the coaching is super important, but then formalising some of those pathways and an opportunity for some men to get involved in kind of coaching and helping mentor some women in that area. So sorry, I had trouble getting connected and now I've gone really fast. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of a flavour. Feeling very blessed to be here at KPMG with all the things going on and just loving hearing about the things that are happening in the broader community. So I'm going to hand off Sonal if there's nothing else.
Thanks, Juliana. First, thanks for sharing your personal story. It's really very inspiring. And especially as you said, we all somewhere have this motion to go forward come from our family. The family plays a bigger role in that as well. So very well said that. And thanks for sharing, the organizations that the steps the organization are taking for embracing the equity. And on the same topic only, or taking the same thread ahead only, we have Vanita as well with us. And so probably, Vanita, I would like to now invite you to share what is because I know I'm from Capgemini as well. Capgemini is, as Michelle mentioned in her talk, that sometimes it's just end up having a cutting the cake, event. So I know Capgemini is actually going ahead and they're actually investing and creating the opportunity for the women who are disconnected, and actually they are giving the jobs. So which is really very exciting, because it is one thing, but with this platform, I think so it would be good to know how some organization has taken that steps, or what are the programs that the organization are particularly running for the women in technology space, to get those women on board in tech force again, back to workforce again. And also I would like to know some of your story as well, how you get involved in this women in diversity in Capgemini.
Thank you. Thanks, Sonal. Can everyone hear me? Just checking
Yes.
before I wrap it off. Good. Firstly, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today to share a bit about the great things that we are able to be involved in. And I think it's, such an honor to be able to do this work and then to be able to share it. And thanks to Michelle and Juliana. I think it's been so inspiring hearing from you both and learning from all the women on this call. So I think it's so my story, I joined Oracle actually. So Juliana, we were probably in the same meetings at some point somewhere. So I joined as a grad in 1999, so just before the Y2K boom or bust, depending on what you were doing back then. And in my grad intake, it was really like an anomaly. We were 50-50 and it was awesome. It was so great. So I think I got this false hope from there, or false understanding that it was just always going to be equal. And that's how it was. So as a woman who spent my whole career in tech, I now realize, like, I used to think it was a cupcake fest to talk about International Women's Day, and setting targets was something that shouldn't happen. I just believed if we all did the right thing, that it would all happen. And I am so on the opposite side of that now. So that organic growth and that organic I guess adjustment isn't happening. So it is really important that we have actual tangible measures, and we can track what we're doing and talk about it and make sure that it is not just a headline, but actually things that we're actioning and plans that we're going through. So as a leader in Capgemini, it's something that we talk about in every single call. It's something that, so I work in the digital customer experience part of the business. So I lead large scale Salesforce programs. As we're building our program teams, I've been working with Cochlear on a global transformation for the last 2.5 years. As we're building up our teams, I'm really conscious, and I know our clients are really conscious of the balance and the diversity in our teams. So we make sure that we do give everyone the voice, and we make sure that we get that richness of thinking, and that coming at problems from different ways. So we've all seen it, we all believe, and now I believe that the targets versus the organic growth is the way to go. So I'm really pleased to be able to talk through some of the things Capgemini are doing. So we, like Juliana shared, have a lot of focus on this, and we have an awesome leader in our business, Steph Sands, who is our head of diversity and inclusion, a dedicated role. We're making sure that there's lots of different angles. What I love about it, so Sonal, maybe I can move into the presentation. If you could just please share that first slide there. One of the things I love about it is we're invited to take these roles. So we're not appointed as a lead of something. You need to choose something you're passionate about, which I think makes us all really authentic and energetic about what we're doing. Because all of us are doing this on top of our day jobs, which are already big, and then on top of our lives, which are already bursting. So it's so important that we do have I guess the passion and the drive in the people who are leading some of these engagements. So this talks through the main pillars that Capgemini organise our CSR around. So corporate social responsibility. So environmental sustainability, digital inclusion, and diversity inclusion are all super important headlines that we bring into it, every part of our thinking and planning and things that we're doing. We have targets on senior leadership and making sure that we do have more women in the role, and also recruitment targets, making sure that we're bringing in more women. One of the ways that we've been able to meet that in my part of the business is through running a program that is specifically designed for women who want to return to the workforce. So this is the relaunch program. Thanks, Sonal. Relaunch is the name of a program that Capgemini run globally, but we have the power locally to make it fit with what our market needs and what our business needs. So what we've done in Australia here is we've run this program for 2 years now. So we did kick it off in COVID. And what we offer is a pathway for women and people of transgender experience who want to return to the workforce. One of the biggest drivers for this program was the mature age woman market. So we know that women take career breaks, sometimes to have families, sometimes to care for other parts of the family, like aging parents, etc. And there's also just a number of other reasons why women weren't educated early to be able to be at par with some of their male counterparts. And so what we want to do here is actually enable people who are interested in technology, so either haven't worked before, haven't worked in the industry before, or have worked in a different industry and want to transfer. We offer the opportunity to join us for a 3-month training program. It's a really supported program, so we make sure, so I ran the Salesforce intake and MuleSoft intake. And what we did was we made sure that each of the people, we handpicked their reviewer, we call them, so kind of a career coach role. And we spoke with those people and made sure that they were able to dedicate the time, because I think when you're starting on this type of journey, really building up the skills and the confidence, there's a lot coming at you all at once. It's great to be able to just reach out to someone and have that sounding board or someone to call you. We also have, so we have a relaunch program lead, we have mentors and buddies, as I've just described, me as a capability lead, and you know, there's an equal role in other parts of the business that run this, as well as our technology partners. So we partnered Haley, who's on the call, hey Haley, and Eloise from Salesforce really helped us with that technology enablement. So it was I think the best to just kind of partner with Salesforce on this one. So we had a full digital delivery. So we made sure that we had lots of calls to connect everyone together to make sure that the information was going in. It was a really safe space. We talked about psychological safety. We talked about fake it till you make it, because we all do. Like no one was born knowing any of this stuff. So you've got to be able to talk about it. You've got to be able to be vulnerable, be authentic, and let it all kind of come together, which it does at different rates for different people. So we offer 6 weeks of skills training. So that is the technical skills, but as well as that, we have masterclasses from some of our top consultants and different parts of our business who kind of bring it all together. I think learning the ways of working. So it's learning how to use your laptop, how to go through all that, which, you know, some of us take for granted because we've been doing it for so long, but I'm sure we've all worked with someone who's kind of new to some of the systems or tools that we're using. Learning agile project delivery, which, you know, everyone does so differently. It's so hard to teach that. There's no playbook on that. It's so interesting. But so talking through the theory of all that is really important. But really where I see it come to life, and we've got Artie on the call who came through our last program. So I'd love to hear from Artie how she found this. But for me, where I really see people blossom and grow and really kind of the light bulb moments is in that project shadowing. So where people are paired into a role for 6 weeks, not in a deliverable role, but in a role to shadow and learn. And I think on my program, the Cochlear program, I was able to bring quite a few people through. In those large environments, you get to see just how you know, many different work scenarios play out and really get to ask all the questions behind the scenes, which really builds the confidence. And for me, confidence is what's key, because we've talked about the imposter syndrome, and, you know, I think everyone has it, and I still have it. Like it's not something that goes away, and it's not something that I think should go away. I think it's the thing that puts me outside of my comfort zone, makes me stretch myself and makes me learn more. But it's something that's really important to acknowledge. So when I know I've got that, when I know I'm feeling like I'm not actually able to hit the mark, then I know I need to go and research, or I need to go and take a break. I need to listen to myself and be kind to myself, and you know, then get through. But it's also the people around you that can really bring that together for you. So in this program, we structure it, but we really aim to create the community, because while this is a structured program for a period of time, we're aiming for these people to have the skills to run their own careers. So at Capgemini, one of our slogans is get the career you want, and you really can, but it relies on you knowing people and reaching out, working with people, and then going and gaining the great experience, delivering great value to our customers, and growing from there. So I think that's something that I'm just hugely proud of this program. I think everyone who's come through the program, they're just awesome. They're so brave. They put themselves out there. They dive into it. So it's been pretty incredible being able to work with the people and lead something like this. Could we move to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
And then so just quickly, sorry.
We also have a question for you. So, but I'll let you finish first.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to say, like, these are some of the faces. Like, it's great to talk about these programs, but these people are just incredible. They're also so brave and they've really thrown themselves into it. So really proud of everyone here. And we do have Artie on the call who I'd like to invite to share her story. So Sonal, I don't know if you wanted to jump in first or after.
Yeah, let me jump in first. And this is the question for you. And Haley's asking, do you think organization need a head of diversity in order for it to be a priority for companies?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? I think the fact that we do have a dedicated head of diversity, and I am seeing it more and more, I think it is it's important. It shows the dedication, it shows the action. I mean, these programs don't happen on their own. And even if people are really passionate about them, connecting them into the wider resources that an organization has is a job. And as I mentioned, all of us have full jobs and full lives. And so adding these things on top, it has been really helpful certainly for me in this program in Capgemini, having a base, I guess, a base of our corporate social responsibility that, enables things that, so, I mean, our grad program, we have other minority groups that we bring in through programs like this and train and skill. We do a lot of workplace culture and inclusion. We do a lot of ally work, so with the LGBTQI community. So I think bringing all of that together does enable us to do more because we already have that baseline. So it's hard to know. I mean, Haley, I think it's a great question, and we could have lots of conversations around it. I think for me, for what I'm seeing in Capgemini, it's awesome. And Steph is a very senior person. She reports into our CEO. So I think it's important to have that level of commitment from an organization. It does manifest in different ways. So programs can be led by other people who have different roles, but certainly for us, it's working.
Yeah. Thanks, Vanita, for taking that question. And yeah, it makes complete sense. And now I'll move to Aarti for quickly share, because she's actually a part of this program and she's joining us today. So very excited to hear from the person who is actually living and breathing the program.
Thanks, Sonal. Thanks, Vanita. Hello, everyone. I joined as a relauncher a year ago with MuleSoft team. Though I had experience in IT, but it was quite challenging to enter the workforce after a gap of almost 3 years. I'm thankful to Capgemini, especially Vanita and Nick, who has taken this initiative to start this program and gave opportunity to women like us to enter the workforce. Actually, I never felt overwhelmed and stressed upon joining this company, as a lot of support was available for the relaunches. I'm thankful to my mentors, peers, colleagues who helped me settle down initially, and there was guidance available along with which helped me to become a productive MuleSoft consultant. As Vanita mentioned, there was a lot of soft skill training, HR training, and the technical lectures which were available in the starting, which helped us immensely in understanding the ecosystem of the Salesforce MuleSoft particularly. My experience so far over the past 1 year has been quite enriching. Like I have worked in with two of the clients with completely diverse fields. It helped me understand their business context, as well as it gives me the opportunity to implement the best practices which I have learned from the other client. So relaunch is a very great initiative, contrary to the perception that investing substantial resources and time on the people who have not been the part of the workforce. I can confirm this, it's a right investment. So I'll conclude.
Thanks, Aarti. That's really so great, to listen from the person who is actually a part of it. And I've worked with Aarti for a short while, and I can say she's like so amazing in her work. But and as Aarti said it's benefited for her, is not just that's not the whole part of the story. The part of the story is both organization and the women, they both are getting benefited with such programs. So it's a two-way relationship. So this is really good to know.
Yeah, I
um,
think, Sonal, just to add to that, we can't forget, I mean, we work for commercial organizations, but the value that we get from bringing people in through this pathway is so much quicker. Like if you think about a graduate and how long it takes for a graduate to be able to, be an independent contributor in a delivery role, versus the relaunch people who come in with a whole bunch of skills of managing households and, juggling priorities with kids and families and everything. So I think it's all so quick to transfer into the workplace. So there's huge value for organizations to do this as well.
yeah, absolutely. I think so. It's such a wonderful story now we have. I have one more question before we wrap up the panel discussion, and probably we'll take that later. It's from Susan Stenberg. In Australia, most organizations are moving toward gender neutral parental leave policies, yet the primary care's leave utilization in 2018 was only 9.7% for men in management position, and even lower for men in non-manager position, which is 4.5. The respective number for female are 90.3 and 95.5. Thought on how this impact equality in the work. This is like such an amazing question, and thanks for giving the stats. Probably none of us know these facts if you wouldn't have put those stats over there. So thanks, Susan, for putting that. And I probably give some time for the speakers to think around it. It's a very intense question you have asked, and we'll come back to that question to answer that question. And with that, probably. We'll wrap up our panel discussion, and I'd like to thank everyone, all the speakers, Michelle, Juanita, Juliana. Thanks for taking the time out, and thanks for sharing your personal experience and the organization that they are doing, and what are the actual programs that are running so that the people or the women can be actually benefited from it. I really appreciate your all time. Um, and with that, we'll wrap up the panel, and I'll start sharing again. And I'll invite Teres, my another meetup leader, uh, uh, to have to
Introduce
run.
the next speaker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm trying to put the slides on as well. And I'm very excited for our next speaker. And I'm really waiting to hear from her as well, because personal experience are the things which makes us learn more. And hand over to you, Teres.
Thanks, Sonal. I just wanted to quickly say big thanks again to all the panelists. I love hearing more day-to-day practices that you actually done in your organizations, and especially hearing from someone who's been through the program. That's really, really valuable. So thanks, Arti, for sharing. And we have more goodness to come for this meetup, which is fantastic. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Nikita. She's a platform owner at Health and Art Alliance for Development and Integration. It's, in my experience, it's quite rare in New Zealand coming across women who are within the MuleSoft ecosystem, be it in the product team, development, etc., let alone leading those teams. Health Alliance, if you don't know who they are, they essentially underpin the critical services for the healthcare sector in New Zealand. So really, really important organization for the health system in New Zealand. Nikita has been in a number of different roles. She will touch on those as she shares her story. But another thing that I'm really, really excited is to bring the New Zealand lens, and that, of course, means the Maori lens and how to take that into work as well. So really, thank you so much, Nikita, for joining us, and really, it's over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Therese, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you for this opportunity to the Women in MuleSoft team. This is my first opportunity as a speaker, so I'm very delighted to be part of this. And thank you for that amazing panel and the discussions on embracing equity. It gave so many insights, and it's really good to have those insights and to learn from all of you guys. Um, yeah, Therese has already given the introduction. I work for Health Alliance, and Health Alliance is a wonderful organization that I personally feel to work with because it has a direct impact on the lives of people. So taking care of a platform that has a direct impact on people's life, I feel very proud about that at the moment. But can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you, Therese. Yeah, this is my journey in a snapshot. So I come from India, from a small coastal town in Kerala. It's also called God's own country. So as you see, I have moved across quite a bit. I started with Infosys, and as before mentioned, I think it was I don't remember who, but when I joined from after my graduation, I didn't feel it was mostly like 50-50%, or I didn't think about equality or equity at the moment. So I joined Infosys, and I was at Infosys for a good long 10 years. Um, Infosys, as most of you know, it's one of the tech giants in India. So I joined as a tester, but I felt like I can do more. I can be a developer, and I was really attracted to move to a developer role. So what I did was I actually talked to my team lead. I said I would really love to do more, and I would really want to try doing development. So what I want to say is it's just understanding your key strength and actually actually going forward and asking for what you want, and don't hesitate, because it's about finding the right opportunity for yourself. uh, so it's and also finding the right support, as some of you would have mentioned before. It's finding the right support, right mentoring, right coaching, to actually go and chase your dreams. uh, I think recently I came across someone who's a producer of one of the Oscar winning movies. It's a short movie. It's called Elephant Whisperers. It's one of the Indian movies, Indian short movies. But what she said is, don't wait for someone to give you a seat at the table. Create that seat, and I mean, go and sit at the table. So that's what I think we all should do. Um, so the next slide, there is. Thank you. And this is a beautiful quote. So it says, if you're one of those people who has a little voice in the back of her mind saying, maybe I could do this little thing, don't tell it to be quiet. Give it a little room to grow, and try to find an environment it can grow in. And I think we all of us should believe in that. And it's about daring to dream and going for it. So yeah, the next slide, Therese, thank you. And now I'd like to go through the challenges that I've faced. And Michelle had shared the power of wheel before. And if we relate to that, I think I'm a bit off the center of power, and things like English as a second language, or social conditioning, imposter system syndrome that we have already discussed about. family pressure and expectations, unconscious bias. These are just few that I thought about, but I'm sure we all can relate to it. So, coming from a small town where English is a second language, I think it took me a while, and still I'm like 15 years in my career now. But there are moments that I feel less confident because of that. Because sometimes I might be at the back of my mind, I would be thinking in my own language, and the way when I actually speak something, it might not come the way that I intended to. So, but I think it's all about practice and continuously improving and trusting in that process. And social conditioning. For example, I believe in most of the cultures, we would be raised in a way that everyone says, as girls, we shouldn't speak rudely, we shouldn't raise our voices or things like that. And for me specifically, it has made me a bit less assertive. But when we come to our careers and our roles, especially in leadership roles, I think we have to be really assertive. And again, it's how we practice it, how we actually identify those little challenges we have and improve it constantly. And imposter system syndrome specifically, where I'm sure we have all sat in a room that a lot of people are in a meeting, and we have thought that, okay, maybe everyone else in the room know better than me. And we would have constantly fought to actually put up our hands and say our opinions. But it again comes to just believing in ourselves. And one of my mentors have already told me, if you're invited into a meeting, that means your opinion matters. So just be brave and speak up. uh, and again, family expectations. So we have been and that was a beautiful presentation from Cap Gemini, how we can actually get into a career again after a break. So personally for me, I know my parents are really happy to see me succeed in my career. But for them, what would have made them more happier is getting married and having kids. So, but I'm married, and I do have a daughter who's 11-year-old. But that has actually, I mean, I had to take a step back in my career, but uh, I don't regret it now. I think it's just every individual's journey and what you want in your life, and follow what you want in your life. And unconscious bias, I think we all must have come across, and I think it's part of the process. So just learn to have the support system, have your mentors, have your coaches, your colleagues, your family, everyone. That proper support system is what we need every time. Yes. Next slide, please, there is. Now, this is beautiful, and Therese has mentioned this before. This is closely related to the Maori land, to New Zealand. So this is very beautiful, and I came across this in one of our workshops at Health Alliance recently, and I think it's really beautiful to share this. So what helps us is five dimensions of life, and the base dimension, or the base of all the four dimensions, is land and roots. It's basically the connection we find to our land or to roots. And it's about taking care of ourselves, basically, like just a walk or take a moment to just enjoy the breeze. So that helps the other four dimensions, which is our physical, spiritual, mental and emotional, and family. So physical, we know it's good to take care of ourselves. For what personally helps me is I love swimming and yoga. So I find some time to do either swimming or yoga, and especially swimming because my daughter enjoys it as well. So it gives me two benefits. One is spending time with her, and it helps me de-stress as well. So keeping care of taking care of our health is something we need to do, so that uh, we are fit and to do our day-to-day job. Family and social, another key aspect. And family is just not our immediate family, it's our extended family, colleagues, friends, and whoever we care about. So having that family and social support is very key to actually achieve our dreams and aspirations, because having a mentor or coach has helped me a lot. There might be situations there where I wouldn't know how to react. So yeah, it's key to find that support, and it can be even your uh, peer who would help you. Sometimes it's just that when you come to office you have a difficult situation, you just need someone to talk to, and sometimes you can't share everything with your family. You don't know how that impacts them, so it's key to find that support. And mental and emotional, I mean, there are various ways. It's our health, I mean, it's just not our physical health, but our mental health, our conscious, our heart, and our feelings. So it's really crucial to have our mental and emotional being, because it's what helps us even in actually communicating properly what our needs are, or what we feel about a situation. And it's very important to keep to get the communication right most of the time. So there are many things that helps me, like I do love doing meditation, but it need not be meditation. It can be just something as a walk around the block, that helps with that. And spiritual means different things to different people. I think it's just that connection to to the universe, or to connection to something that we believe in. Yeah, that's it on that slide. And I think that's my last slide. But what I would like to say is, what has helped me, and I believe what will help everyone, is uh, dream. Don't be scared to dream, because we are all made for wonderful things. And get your support system. And don't be scared of failures, because even if you fail, just treat it as a learning, and continue growing, and focus on these 5 dimensions. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks, Nikita. If anyone has any questions, feel free. But I just wanted to say I can relate to this so much, because often we just laser focused on one dimension. So maybe everything is just, career seems to be the be all and everything. But of course, you know, you have your health, you have your family. Families come up quite a few times today as well, being either inspired or having a trailblazer as a mum, or family supporting. And I think just coming back to the question that Suzanne put forward as well, just having, that if your family is able to support more, then you can have a chance, to have more equity at workplace as well, that Michelle touched upon as well. Nikita, you also mentioned one of the critical factors that enabled you to come over to New Zealand was because your other half actually supported you with that move, which I
Yes.
think is quite nice, ties nicely with Suzanne's point as well.
It is, yeah. So I think that's it about equity again, because I mean, it's not like a woman should. I mean, it is actually both ways. So my husband has really supported me in making that move and achieving my dreams to move to another country. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Does anyone from the panel want to tackle the question? Any takers?
I think so. I can just add my thoughts. I think it's just an ongoing topic, isn't it? And it will take time to shift. But my personal view is, it is great that the option is there and it's becoming more available. But I think personally, like I've had in the last 2 years, I've had 3 men in my team take paternity leave, and I think that's great. And it's unusual. It wasn't something I was necessarily prepared for. I think the first time I was asked, and I think it worked well for their families that they did the second 3 months or 6 months after the child was born. So I think there needs to be these options. This is a great step, because it gives people the options to make the choice that is right for their family situation and their home and all of those things. So I think that's good. But those stats from Sweden, wow, that's pretty cool. It's yeah, so I think that's something to strive for.
I have.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say I've got a view, but can everyone hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm just returning home from school pickup, so thanks for the patience. But I think what we need to do is there is equity that needs to happen for men and around to the ability to be seen as vulnerable and caring and emotional beings, and removing that toxic masculinity and the expectations around being a man and what that means in society, so that a man can be a primary caregiver. Like for me, personally in my home, my husband works part-time to support we made a pact when we had children that we would share the load. And so I took a hit on my career for 4 years, and he's now in the middle of doing that for his career. And I think, though, what we need is when we see men having children, asking them, are you planning on taking pat leave? And not having that judgment or expectation that they're going to be gone for 2 weeks and return back to work. And small things like, when a man, when a woman is at work, sometimes I'll get asked, who's looking after your kids? Like that, I should be the one that's doing it. And so I think the more that we can break down those gender-based stereotypes, the more equity we can give men to be more active in the home. It actually will benefit women as well, because it will give us space to move into those leadership roles, return to work quicker and advance our own careers. So I think we can come at it from multiple different angles, but being conscious of it and being programmatic about changing gender stereotypes and expectations and the way we engage with different genders is really a step in the right direction.
I love that. It's 100%. It's not just equity for women, equity for men as well. So yeah, you can't tackle that issue just by looking at half of the equation. So completely agree. Just conscious of time. I know everyone has busy schedules. So any last questions for anyone before we wrap up? Okay, it looks like we are good. So first things first, big thanks again for taking the time out of your day. In terms of skilling, looking at what's on offer when it comes to development, architecture, and so forth, you can type in mule.is class schedule to see what kind of training programs are happening for MuleSoft in JPAC. And we can paste the link in the chat as well for easy access. If we go on the next one, brilliant. We'll also share how to connect with us. So if you'd like to join our LinkedIn Women Who Mule group or have ideas, want to get in touch, feel free to reach out to us directly as well. And of course, if you haven't joined the meetup group, I know you signed up for the event, but if you also want to be part of the meetup group, you can do that as well, and we can share the link in the chat. If we go on the next one, and yeah, that's really it from us. We're always looking forward to improve these meetups. So if there's a different topic you want to cover, you have an idea, or maybe you have an idea who would be a great speaker, please get in touch. We tend to experiment between diversity-based topics, but also technical topics. But we're always keen to improve it. So yes, big thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. And I really like to thank Suzanne, for bringing so much attention or light to our stats. In fact, you are a great participant, I must say. And thanks, Nikita, for sharing such a wonderful story. I can relate to all the challenges, and I can relate to all those syndromes that you said, syndromes, family thing, everything. It's quite relatable. And thanks all the attendees You guys are so amazing. Make this event bit lively, and we are so encouraged to do these events just because of you guys. So thank you. Terence, do you want to cover anything before we wrap up the event?
I just share the links. So for the training, for the LinkedIn group and meetups. And again, just big, massive thank you. I think everyone had something wonderful to add. Always think the real life examples, what different organizations are doing is so valuable, and hearing stories and challenges. I think there's something for everyone. There's the more I hear